Hey, guess what?
What?
This is our 50th episode.
50th episode. Welcome, guys.
I should have put that button on there.
Yeah.
Because all I got now is the ding.
Nope, that's not celebratory enough. Nope, it's not working. He's trying to just mash that button. That's okay. Everybody will just have to settle for your beautiful voice making.
Oh, geez. Thanks.
Siren sounds.
Okay. So, 50th episode. What are we going to do?
All right. So this episode is a Q&A episode. We talked about it, I think, definitely episode 49 and maybe even 48. But we said, hey, mail in questions to our email address. And
email in.
Email in, yes. That's what I feel like in 2021.
You can't say mail in. You can't say mail in to our audience. They will physically mail you a letter.
They will. They really will. But in
Love
2021, when you say mail in, I hope that you mean email. Anyways, to email in questions. So here we are on episode 50.
With your questions.
Answering them all with you.
Roll the intro. Welcome to the Let's Quit podcast.
Quitting is not always a bad thing.
If you have the right mindset, quitting can be the most powerful tool you have on your journey to success. It's certainly been helpful for us.
Whether it's flying through hurricanes, building our businesses, or just trying to get to bed on time, we're always trying to level up and improve our lives.
This is the show where we share the lessons, experiences, and friends that have helped us live this incredible life. So let's quit the bad and grow the good together. All right, y'all. So this is going to be a special episode for us. Man, 50 episodes.
Yeah.
If you've been with us from the beginning, thank you. I don't think we may have mentioned the podcast in like 2 YouTube videos. It's at the end screen, like the subscribe button is always on the end screen of our videos, but we never actively talk about the podcast. It's just not something, so it sort of grows very organically, which in 2021 is basically a death sentence to any social media account that you're trying to create. You've got to actively promote it. So anyway, thank you for listening to us for over a year.
Yes, we really appreciate you. And thanks for trying to share the show with people too. We've got a lot of friends that'll share it on Instagram, share it on Facebook, whatever. We really appreciate that as well. That's
and there's
awesome.
Even a couple of you. We mentioned a couple podcasts ago that we make no money on this podcast. And a couple of y'all jumped over onto Patreon and started supporting us that way. And that just means the world to us. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/jennieanddavis and pick the tier that works for you. That means the world to us. So thank you very much. Anyway, let's get some semblance of normalcy here. Let's do a weekly update. Where have we been, Jennie?
Oh my gosh, we have been all over the place. It started out by going up to visit my family and do some deer hunting.
I think we talked about that.
I think we talked about that. That was a big trip. And then we had to turn right back around and go to Mississippi for our Air Force jobs and do some flying and just all around get some stuff done.
I had to go to the Virgin Islands because I was due for a check ride. So in the flying world, every so often you have to do what's called a check ride, where you fly with an instructor and or an evaluator, and they just basically make sure that you're still doing your job, you don't have any bad habits developed, you still know all your stuff, and you're not going to crash the plane. That's basically the whole point.
Yeah, it's just a big test.
Just to see if you can still do your job. And as air crew on the C-130, that's one of the things that we're subject to. And so I had to get mine knocked out. But yeah, so we were also rolling up. It's called roll up, and we get some equipment that we keep down in the Virgin Islands just for hurricane season. And we had to bring all that back for the winter. And we just decided to jump on one of those planes and try to knock out my check ride. So I got back Wednesday-ish.
You got back like late Tuesday night.
Yeah. And we have been in a full sprint ever since. We've been fulfilling more Christmas orders. Jennie had her huge event, which I hope by the time you're listening to this that our YouTube video on that is published. If not, something's gone horribly wrong. Send help.
Send help.
But that's what we got to do later today. But it's been a really busy week, a really busy time. You want to talk about your big event?
Yeah. So I saw on Instagram, and if you watch any of our videos or listen to my podcast, you'll know that I am a
podcast. Excuse me?
What?
You said my podcast.
Oh, Our
It's
podcast.
our podcast.
I'm sorry. It's
Wow.
early. Usually
There's a Freudian slip
listen,
there.
we usually don't record these podcasts in the morning for good reason. They are afternoon recordings. So I'm sorry. I slipped up a word. Our podcast, our videos,
Okay.
even though I don't care about
Carry on.
No, I'm just kidding.
Carry on.
Okay. I am way into like stalking Instagram to just find
You're way into stalking?
information.
I'm sorry.
Instagram.
I'll stop.
Instagram.
I've had too much coffee.
That is the caveat there. That is how I find all my realtors to send boards to. That's how I find potential clients. That's how I find out what events are going on. It's to the point where if somebody like shares an Instagram story of a picture of a magazine with more potential leads on it, I will take those names from the picture of that magazine and I will send them boards. Hardcore. I scour the Instagram world for whatever I can find. So I found this really big business event that was happening in Houston.
Downtown Houston, right?
Yes, downtown Houston.
It was at the ladies club?
It was at the Junior League of
Junior
Houston.
League.
So it's usually set up by the Houston Businesswomen. That's like an association you can be a member of, I think, and whatever. And they were throwing a big event where everybody was welcome. Everybody brought their spouses. If you had been in town, maybe I would have brought you. But it was very formal. It was like black tie. All the ladies had to wear floor length white dresses. Very formal. But there was an opportunity to sign up to be a vendor there. So you could have your own table and talk about your products and meet people. And so I was like, sign me up. And sure enough, I got in early enough where I got a spot. And so then the preparation started.
Yeah, so talk about your
yeah.
preparations. What was your goal for the event? Were you going in there trying to sell 10 million boards or?
All right, so here's the goal. So picture this. All these ladies and guys are walking around in their formal attire. Would you want to carry a cutting board around, a 7-pound cutting board around in your formal white dress all night long at this party?
Probably not.
No, you wouldn't. So I realized very quickly that my goal probably is not to sell boards at this. My goal is probably to get known because basically everybody there is a possible client for me. It is a business people's event. So the people there are business people who I try to reach all week long.
Okay, so your goal is to get known by these people. How are you going to convince them to meet you and to know you?
So I had a couple of things. One sounds really dumb, but it actually worked. And the other was a little strategic. So I had this really cool backdrop. I made it this light blue color because it matched the colors of the event. And I wrapped lights all around it, blinky lights, on and
Shiny.
off Christmas lights.
I mean, it works for the casinos. Why wouldn't it work for us?
Exactly. And so I'm nobody else's booth is going to have blinky lights. So I'm going to grab people's eyeballs first when they walk into my little vendor room. And that was definitely the case. When people walked in, their eyes went to me first. So that worked. And then I had this really cool sign because a lot of our cutting boards, right, we sell to realtors or mortgage brokers or people who are using them as closing gifts.
No, don't talk about this yet.
You don't want to talk about that yet?
Talk about the drama from the YouTube video. You made this
Oh,
nice printed banner,
yeah.
and then
I feel like I've purposely tried to forget about it because it made me so sad.
see, we do this all the time. This is why we're so terrible at making YouTube videos, is because we not intentionally trying to hide our mistakes, but our brain is trying to keep our mistakes hidden from us.
Yeah.
So
all right, we'll talk about it. So I made this really nice banner that I was going to attach to my backdrop that said be together, stick together, whatever. It kind of combined the fact that we were all business women, helping each other out, but also it had our logo, which is be together. And I had the hashtag of the event on there and everything like that.
Right. So let's back up. So you've got the blinky lights. People are going to be attracted to your booth, and the value that you were going to give to them for free that would make them want to be friends with you was a really good picture opportunity.
Yep.
You brought a ring light, you had your whole backdrop set up, you had this nice banner with the hashtag on it to advertise the event. You were planning on all these girls coming over and taking pictures in front of your backdrop, and that was going to be one of the photo stations, if you will, of the whole event. That was the
Right.
value you were going to provide, and then if they wanted to talk to you or engage after the fact, you could talk about your cutting boards.
So fun fact though, I was picking this banner up from the UPS store because I had it made and printed and on their plotter. And I walk back in the door of our house and I was holding coffee in my other hand because I don't really go anywhere without coffee. And I was shutting the front door as I was walking into the house, and the cat tries to escape And so I just like kind of, kick him to the side so he doesn't sprint out the door. And my coffee tips and I spill coffee all down the front of this banner. And so I was like, are you kidding me? This is supposed to be like the front and center piece of my booth.
And it's like the day before.
It's quite literally the day before. And there's coffee spilled all down this. And this wasn't a cheap banner. Like, I mean, it wasn't super expensive, but it was like, $35-$40 to get this thing printed that quickly at the UPS store. And I was like, I cannot believe I just did this. I've been prepping for this event for like 2 weeks. And within seconds, I spill coffee all over it.
Wow. How did that feel? You texted me when it happened. And
I was just like, I felt like such an idiot. I was like, who does that? But then the other part of me was like, no, I can fix this. So I was like really sad for a minute and upset with myself. And I was like, I cannot believe I just did this. And I was like, yes, you can. I do stuff like this all the time. That was like the biggest Jennie move that I could have possibly made.
So what'd you do to fix it?
So I wiped some of the coffee off and I tried not to get some of the like ink too smeared. Okay. I was like, all right, the worst spot I can fix. I'm just going to cover it with like a little piece of paper that says 2021 or like, December 2021 or something like that. I can cover this up. And then I started putting up my backdrop just to like steam iron it so it wasn't all wrinkly. And I decided I didn't really like how the banner looked anyways. The colors kind of clashed. It looked kind of cheap having a piece of paper on top of like a fabric backdrop. And I was like, maybe it was meant to be because I really don't like it on there anyways.
So how'd you fix it? What'd you do instead? Did you still use the backdrop?
I still use the backdrop, but we had this little Samara Table Company table runner. It was kind of like skinny and it goes over whatever tablecloth you're using just so people can see the logo on the front of the table.
Yeah. Oh, is it the same one that we brought to that pop-up shop at the coffee store? Okay.
Correct. That one. And I just threw that over the backdrop and laid some of the lights on top of it. And I was like, this looks so much better and so much more professional.
Yeah, if you saw the YouTube video, if it's even out yet,
hopefully
you probably saw a picture of it. It looked really nice.
Yeah.
You look nice too.
Oh, thanks. And I was like, this is what we're going to go with.
But then that gave you the idea also to use the chalkboard, right? So what did you write on that chalkboard?
Yeah. So what I wrote, I'll tell you what I wrote on it first, and then I'll kind of explain behind the scenes. I wrote on the chalkboard, own real estate in every client's kitchen. Own real estate in every client's kitchen. And why I worded it that way is because I'm trying to sell our cutting boards, right? And we sell them as closing gifts. So people's, homeowners' names get engraved on the front, and like the realtor, the mortgage broker, whoever, their logo gets engraved on the back. And the purpose is because it's supposed to be a referral tool. I mean, it's a really pretty closing gift, but like, hey man, let's try to get some referrals out of this. And
so it's not just for realtors. It's like a business tool.
Correct.
Like anybody could use it for referrals.
But what are the buzzwords for business people and rich people and realtors and people who like money? Real estate. Everybody wants to own real estate. Everybody wants to sell it. Everybody wants to invest.
Everyone sees it as a good thing, yeah.
Right. And so how am I going to catch business people's eyes? I'm going to speak their language. I'll advertise in their language. So instead of saying, have a really fun closing gift or give your clients a pretty gift, I said, own real estate in all of your clients' kitchens.
And then that makes them question, like, what do you mean by that? Then they come over and see that we engraved their stuff on the back.
Funny story. Before I even had my booth set up, I was like, everything was in boxes. My sign was like leaning up against a chair. I had literally just gotten there. And this really sweet lady walks up, looks at my sign and goes, I like your sign. And I was like, thank you. And she goes, what does it mean? And so I kind of explained to her what it meant and what my products are. And she goes, oh, I love that because I'm a realtor. And I was like, yep, sign works. All right. It is decided. Sign works.
Before the event even started.
Yep, before the event even started.
Was that another vendor? Or was that an attendee?
I think she was helping out another vendor, but it was like
so
a
it was another
herself.
vendor. It wasn't even somebody. It was somebody else there to sell something, and you caught their eye and sold them your thing. That's crazy.
So
good job.
I will definitely use that slogan again if I go to a similar event.
Yeah. Man, maybe we should trademark it.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, let's think about that. Cool. Anyways. yeah, so you did that, and then event was a great success. You met a lot of people.
Yeah, met a lot of good people, got my business cards and pamphlets in people's hands.
Didn't you run out of business cards?
I ran out of business cards, but thankfully I brought the like tall, skinny pamphlets, and that has all our contact info in it as well.
You got a lot of Instagram followers too, right?
Yeah.
'Cause you did a giveaway. Huh?
Oh, that's the other thing I did. I did a giveaway. I was like, oh, follow us on Instagram, and I'll put your name in a drawing and do a giveaway.
A random drawing.
A random giveaway.
Totally not calculated. Totally not farming you for leads for.
Yeah, and so I got a bunch.
But you're getting a free board, so.
Right. And I was like, oh, it's the holiday season. I'm gonna give away 2 boards, surprise! But these were people I was gonna mail free boards to anyways. Once I found out who they were, so it just worked out well.
Right. All it did was accelerate your it just saved you a little bit of time Instagram stalking.
Right. And it makes them happier because they feel like they won. Literally, both of them replied. They're like, I never win anything. This is so amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
You're evil.
I'm not evil.
Not for that reason.
Yeah. Right.
All right, cool. So I'm glad you had a good time at your event. It sounds like it went off without a hitch. And once you finally got there and everything else.
Yep.
So
Went pretty smoothly.
Yeah. We've also been incredibly busy. I don't know. We talked about this yesterday. I really struggle. Part of Davis's many flaws, one of them is that when the next thing is on the horizon, I want to drop every other responsibility and just run straight to it. I did this at the end of high school. All I wanted to do was get to college. I burned every bridge on the way out of high school. When I joined the Air Force, I was so excited about joining the Air Force. I didn't do too bad of a job after leaving college, but I really separated from my college community and didn't do a whole lot. I just ran to the Air Force. And then when we wanted to leave the Air Force, I don't know, maybe a couple years before we left the Air Force, I wanted to burn the whole place down, and metaphorically, no arson here. And, I don't know. I continually have a bad attitude and don't want to deal with anything as it's coming to a close and the next chapter begins. And so we are facing that right now with our businesses. I am conscious of that. That doesn't make it any easier, but I'm trying to not drop my other responsibilities.
What are you running toward, though?
As I'm excited about running towards our new commercial space.
Yes.
Hopefully, we will be in the process of packing and moving by the time you're listening to this. But we have signed a lease.
Shh, we haven't said that on YouTube yet, so this is special.
I know, this is super secret. But we have signed a lease. We have a move-in date that is somewhat flexible, and the build-out is done. We're just waiting for keys.
Yes.
And I am beside myself.
Yeah, we're very excited. So, like we said, we have not put out a YouTube video on this. This is exclusive episode 50.
This is why you listen to the podcast.
Info, yes.
We always say you guys mean more to us, and this is how we show it.
Yes.
We give you inside scoop information.
Yes. So we do have it. It is ours.
So we're super excited about it. We're looking at hiring some employees right off the bat. Just really trying to grow and scale and not make ourselves the bottleneck to both of our businesses.
Yes.
So it's very exciting. But at the same time, we've got a lot of other responsibilities. We got to make sure orders still go out. We got to finish the Christmas season.
Right. It's still holiday season. There's still a lot of money to be made in the next couple of weeks.
Right. We're trying to blow all the money we've made profit on this year because I don't want to get taxed on it. Because it's not that I'm avoiding taxes. That's always a great thing. But at the same time, we're going to buy all this stuff for the new commercial space when we move in. But it's towards the end of the year, right? So if we're going to buy all that stuff anyway,
might as well buy it before January 1st.
Because as soon as we carry money over to January 1st, we're going to get taxed on it, 30 to 40%.
Yep.
And so, our buying power disappears if we wait till January 1st to buy stuff. Does that make any sense? I hope it does.
Because you don't pay taxes.
Right. You only pay in a business. You only pay taxes on your profit at the end of the year. Loosely talk to a CPA. Don't take me for financial advice.
Yes.
But you only pay taxes on your profit for the year. And so if we can spend and get rid of that money, we can spend all of it, not just 70% of it after taxes.
Right.
So we're trying to buy stuff that we need. We've got 5 or 6 office chairs in the garage right now behind a stack of cutting boards because we're just trying to get our stuff now before the end of the year. anyway, so as much as I said all that to say, as much as I want to like run to the commercial space, get it all set up, do all the work in there, and completely abandon the holiday season, there's a lot of money to be made here before the year is over. So anyway, I'm just trying to be a better person.
Yes, good problems to have. All good problems to have. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that we've been up to. It's been a lot, but we're having fun. And yeah, hopefully, I'm excited to put out more information about the commercial space on YouTube too. We have to kind of compile and organize all that, and
yeah. Well, I mean, so I didn't realize this until very recently. Like in social media now, you have to hype everything up. You have to be very strategic with how you release information, how you build hype for something. Otherwise, it's just going to totally flop. And we've done a poor job of that. We want our content to sort of stand on its own legs and propagate itself. But like I said earlier in this podcast, like that's a losing formula for social media. You can't just make good content. You've got to make good content and then have a really good supporting delivery system for that content for it to propagate and do good against the algorithm and stuff like that. Normally things that we ignore and don't care about, but we know people have been rooting for us for a while on YouTube, and we want to let it be known that, hey, we've achieved what we've been chasing after for a while. You can too. Follow along and watch us bumble around and continue to make mistakes all the time.
Yes,
it's a great time. So with that being said, that's been our update.
I say we get into some
Let's get into
questions.
Your questions. Yeah. All right, Jenny, our first question. Well, okay, so we said most of this. I'm referring to our outline. Yeah, we're super grateful for these 50 episodes. Again, this podcast has really been not therapy for us, but like it's really allowed us to think through our week and provide some closure, close the loop on some things, which allows us to I'm answering one of the questions right now, but we'll get to it in a minute. But it just, I don't know. We're just so thankful that, we have people that want to listen, and which helps pay, for the business and stuff like that. So
yes,
even if we're not directly making money from the podcast, it means a lot that people listen and engage and follow us. So we don't take that responsibility lightly.
Yes. So without further ado, let's get into our first question. It is from John. He said, "Why did you join the military?"
You go first.
So I guess this is a question of like, why did you join the military versus like go to the civilian sector type thing with your jobs?
Sure.
I'm just going to take it that direction, I guess. So for me, I've always been really, really interested in science and just nerdy stuff. I'm talking like space, astronomy, physics, all that sort of stuff. And so when I was in high school, I would take all the AP physics classes and math and whatever. And I was like, man, I really would love to do like the astronomy, space physics type thing. And so I was looking at some of the civilian sector stuff, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. But then my dad and a couple other people were like, hey, if you really want to work on like the coolest technology and satellites, he's like, you should consider the Air Force, because that's going to get you closest to it fastest. And I was like, I guess I never considered that before, but it would definitely be interesting. And I do like the military lifestyle. I feel like I gravitate toward that kind of like behavior and mindset and stuff. And so I started looking into options of like how to join the military while you were in college. And then once you got out, you would get assigned a job, hopefully, fingers crossed, right, according to what you got your degree in. And yeah, so then I went the ROTC route in college. And yeah, so I guess my answer is to get me like
to do science
closer to, I don't know, cool sciencey nerdy stuff.
Fun.
Yep.
Yeah, I joined because I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I've always loved airplanes, and I thought I wanted to be a fighter pilot. So I went to college, and I went to a very expensive college and needed to pay for it somehow. And the Air Force was offering pretty big scholarships. You had one too, I think, right? So, yeah, I said I think like I didn't know. You had a scholarship. I had a scholarship. Thanks, Uncle Sam, for paying for our education.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought I wanted to be a fighter pilot, and turns out that that's not really what I wanted. And so before I graduated, I thought, oh, I'll do the weather thing. That sounds cool. I wanted to write, long term, I really wanted to write code for the forecasting models. All the computer models that like
I do remember that
the weather.
Phase of you wanting to do
Oh,
that.
yeah. And I wasn't as entrepreneurially spirited as I am now, but I totally had ideas of like getting a couple patents on some lines of code and then having that program installed in the global models and stuff like that. So that was sort of the direction I wanted to go. But then the Air Force had other plans for me and stuck me in a hole in the ground in North Dakota. So
it happens.
It happens. You sign on that dotted line, man. You're signing up for anything and everything. So
yes.
A lot of people don't get that, but I learned that lesson the hard way. But with the right perspective, you can tackle any challenge. So
Yes.
I originally signed up to do, I don't know, just to be a fighter pilot. And then I was like, well, I'll just get some experience managing and forecasting weather and supervising people. And then I can translate that into the private sector later. So I guess my plan never was to be career military.
Yeah, I don't think mine ever was either.
I mean, it was briefly when I got in, but I think everybody thinks about it. I don't know.
I think mine was like, if it keeps going well and it's working out and it's a great job and I love the people and everything, then I'll just keep staying. If I don't have a reason to leave, like, I'll stay. But
yeah, so on that, like, when we decided we wanted to leave, man, it was tough. We didn't know what it looked like.
yeah.
This was sort of at the beginning of our YouTube journey, but like we knew we wanted to leave the military, but we didn't know what we were going to do next. And we knew that if we stayed comfortable, we would just stick around. And so one of the things that we did to force ourselves out was we were not going to get master's degrees. At a certain point in the officer side of the Air Force, if you don't have a master's degree, you will not get promoted to the next rank.
Yeah.
Just no matter what the reg says or whatever, or the regulations or the rules, like at some point, if somebody sees your package and you don't have a master's degree, they are not going to push you for promotion. And we thought, okay, well, that will force us if we don't get a master's degree. It sounds stupid up front, but if we don't get a master's degree, because nothing we wanted to do required a master's degree.
Right.
And so, or if we did want to do something that needed it, we could
always
get it later.
go back and get it. Right.
But everybody around us was working on their master's degrees so they could get promoted to the rank 3 ranks away. There's lots of careerism in the military. But
Yes.
We just decided we weren't going to get a master's degree, and that was going to force us to look and find opportunities outside of the military. Well, this is about the time that we started the YouTube channel and started making money with woodworking, and we're like, okay, maybe there's this. And then you got an email talking about the hurricane hunters that we're hiring.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, all of this is starting to converge together and make a
somewhat decent plan.
cobbled together plan. Maybe we can, yeah.
And it was a good combination because we didn't have to fully leave the military. We're still in the reserves,
Right.
so we're just part-time. So that was nice. Like we didn't want to like leave the military if we didn't have to.
Yeah. So let me back up. We say leave the military all the time in our videos and everything. There's a lot of confusion out there. We want to be very clear. We're still in the military. We are in the Air Force Reserves. We are part-time. We go at least 3 or 4 days a month sometimes, and we fly. We're still on C-130s. We're still doing the mission, but our mission exists in the winter storm season and in the hurricane season in the summer. So we are full-time content creators. We are full-time business owners with the furniture thing, but we are also part-time military. Just wanted to clear that up in case there's any
Yes.
confusion. We got to be a little bit more conscious about that in
Yeah,
our
we
YouTube
should
stuff,
probably be more
because we
clear.
always say when we wanted to leave the military, and then people don't realize we're still there.
Yeah.
So we're great content creators.
Yes.
We're always clear.
All right, so let's go on to our next question then. I feel like we've answered that one.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Thanks, John. That was a great question.
Yeah, that was a good one, John.
Sabrina wants to know, what living person inspires you the most? She's got a follow-up question. It says, what about any past person?
Ooh.
You go first.
I go first. I don't have
Let's talk with
the
living
second part of my
people.
answer.
That's okay. Living people. Who inspires you the most?
It's going to be so hard for me to choose like just one.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Why do you only have one? Or why do you have more than one?
Because I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket with like one person. And I feel like everybody has got, or most people have at least something they can teach you. And everybody has different personalities, so you can hear stuff from a different angle. Sometimes you can hear the same lesson 3 times, but it doesn't hit home for you until you heard it from the third person because they said it in such a way that resonated with you.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I really like listening to Ed Milet's podcast. Just the way he speaks really resonates with me. Really like Mel Robbins also. Tom Bilyeu. But like, for example, Tom Bilyeu and Ed Milet say things very differently.
Yeah.
And so they're going to resonate you. So, it's hard just choosing one for me.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, it's very hard because you don't ever, oh my gosh, like, Eric Thomas, motivational speaker guy person. I'm sure that's not how he wants to be described, but that's sort of how the public describes him. But he said once, we saw him at a thing in LA, and he said that he won't even write the foreword for somebody's book because he's afraid of a Bill Cosby situation where someone's career gets ended, and everyone associated closely with that person, their credibility is tarnished. And so he won't even write the foreword to a book for somebody because he's afraid of that person screwing up. And he's like, no, I got to focus on just my stuff. So in that same vein, when we look to people that inspire us, they only inspire us in a very narrow category of things. We don't go whole hog and like become disciples of one person, at least anybody living. And because you never know what trouble they're going to get into.
I really like listening to Ed Milet for like how to think highly of yourself, even when you're surrounded by like chaos and stressful situations and maybe like bad outcomes in business or life or whatever, and still how to like hold yourself in high regard, not let your self-esteem get hit too hard. I really like listening to him for that. Same with Mel Robbins, because I think they're kind of the same personality type-ish. But like Tom Bilyeu, I like listening to the logic of how to solve your problems. I feel like he does a really good job on that side of the field. But
a lot of straight medicine from Tom Bilyeu, which is how I like to communicate. So it's a good lesson for you. So I listen to Tom Bilyeu because not only because I like what he says, but he also conveys information the way that I convey it. And so when I listen to something and I'm like, Tom, there's a way better way to explain that, I got to look at myself and I'm like, oh, shoot, that's how I talk too. So I've got to be more careful about how I deliver information. And you can't, one of the problems I have is I run my mouth a lot. I say a lot of words, which means that the value of your words goes down. The more you say, the less it all means.
Yeah.
The less you say, the more it means. So it's a good lesson for me. So we take certain things from certain people, but yeah, some of the people that we sort of look up to and inspire us, been really inspired from business by Elon Musk, sort of the way that he developed Tesla and SpaceX. If you sort of read between the lines of the news articles, you can sort of see like, I'll give you an example. Samara Table Company. We're trying to run that exactly like he built Tesla. So when he started Tesla, he built the Tesla Roadster, which was just an existing car. It was a little exotic sports car called a Lotus Elise, I think it was. He pulled the engine out, put a battery in, and said, here's the future. Now, what you need to know about these cars is that they had no creature comforts. I don't even think they had power windows. They had no radio, no nothing. Like this, and this is just, it's a true track car. Rich billionaires in Europe would buy these cars and go to the track day and just drive around the track. There was no radio, no power windows, sometimes air conditioning. Like it just was a very basic car. He pulled the engine out, put a battery in, and said, here, for I think it was $1 million a car. He sold that to his sphere of influence, is saying this is the future. That's how he fundraised, making the Model S. Then he made the Model S and sold that at a very high price point to wealthier people, saying, hey, this is sort of what the future is going to look like. Here's our first electric car. And then he took all that money and developed the Model 3 and the Model X and the Model Y and the Model...
So basically he uses his current project to fund his next one, and it just keeps that rolling.
And that's how we have started Samara Table Company. We started with cutting and charcuterie boards. That's going to fund development of our kitchen tables. The kitchen tables are going to fund development of coffee tables or other furniture projects or future NFT projects that we have. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm using the current wave of money to fund the next thing. So that's an example of how we look to Elon Musk for business inspiration, maybe not how to interact on Twitter.
Right.
Or how to manipulate stocks or
cryptocurrency
or whatever. Right.
But yeah, so I guess that's our answer to that question. Like, who do we look up to? I think some of the people we've thrown out names for are definitely people that we, are inspired by. But all right, we got to go to the next question because we have to head out the door in like...
Do we really?
15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Okay.
So we'll start...
But we promised these people a deep dive on all their questions.
Yes. I feel like we've gone really deep on a lot of these questions.
Okay, we got to keep rolling.
All right, so one from Eric.
Eric with a K.
Eric with a K, not Eric who... is in our YouTube videos. What would be one of the best decisions you've made in your Samara business so far that most people wouldn't think is a huge decision?
I would think product. I don't know.
Yeah, a big decision for us that people wouldn't think is such a big decision.
I think selling to realtors.
Yeah.
A lot of people just think, oh, realtors, lots of money. Like, I want to do that too. Like, we were very strategic with why we picked realtors in Houston, because Houston, where we decided to move, and that's a whole other story. But like, Houston is the 4th largest city in the U.S. It's one of the fastest growing.
Yeah.
The real estate agents in the Houston area specifically are a different style of real estate agent.
Yes.
They are very much trying to compare with each other. They're very much trying to beat each other in a spirited, competitive way,
Right,
not a nasty, angry way.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But you can't just go sell closing gifts to realtors anywhere in the U.S. It's just not going to work. And so a lot of people say, well, I'm trying to sell and they won't buy at my price point and blah, blah, blah. Like, we were very strategic with wanting to do specifically Houston real estate agents.
We researched what the market wanted before we made up our minds on what these cutting boards would be. If we were somewhere else in Texas and like barbecue was the big thing, you better believe we would have been advertising these as like butcher blocks and like barbecue chopping blocks. We would not be trying to sell to realtors. We would be trying to sell to like big chains of, barbecue restaurants or pitmasters or whatever.
Yeah. So I guess that's one question or one thing that we have really spent a lot of time thinking about that not a lot of people know, because they're just trying to copy doing real estate and it's not working in their area, and that's why.
Right. We really put a lot of thought in that, and I think people do just brush over it like, oh yeah, duh, realtors.
Yeah.
And then he asked, conversely, what would be a decision that you thought was a great idea that didn't work out well?
What? Are you thinking of one?
This was before Samara Table Company was like existing, but the writing desk, the farmhouse writing desk
we talked about that. That was a total flop.
Yeah. We thought everybody was going to love these farmhouse writing desks that we were doing.
Because we loved
them.
them. And I guess that's the biggest, like, that's the lesson there, is like, just because you like something does not mean a bunch of other people do. Unless you know how to find people exactly like you all over the country.
Yeah.
Which, surprise, surprise, is not... It's so weird. Like, you got to hold these two conflicting ideas in your head. You got to think that you are very unique and very special and very different, but also you are very normal and very...
predictable.
And yeah, we're all the same. So this is one of those areas in which your specific taste is so nuanced and different from the general population that you got to really think hard about what product you want to bring to market, because not everybody is a woodworker with your exact experience and wants the same products that you want to build.
Right.
So
do market research for your area before you ever pick up any tool to build anything.
But yeah, that was one decision. I can't think of many others, man. Yeah, we can talk about that another time. But like when we started social media, we thought that we were going to make this course of like how to teach women how to do woodworking and stuff like that. And we filmed and edited the whole course, and we really started YouTube to try and sell that program first.
Right. It was like how do you build with limited tools, maybe in your apartment,
right?
If you don't have a garage.
Before we ever uploaded our first YouTube video, we knew it was a failure because, first of all, we started with money. We were trying to be greedy, and we were like, okay, you're never going to grow on social media if that's your goal.
Right.
So before we ever began the YouTube channel, it was a failure. But we were so excited. We had like literally filmed, edited, did the whole thing, and then realized like, oh, no, number one, like, this is stupid. Nobody wants this. This already exists for free on YouTube. And trying to convince people to do something that they don't naturally want to do. Because we assumed that most people wanted to do DIY stuff, and they just didn't.
Right.
So trying to teach someone to do something that they're not good at, that they don't want to do, is just a recipe for disaster for customer support. So
yes.
I'm kind of glad it failed.
So.
But anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure we have more examples.
Oh, we've got tons. We fail every day. We
yeah.
always do stuff that we think is going to work well or doesn't work out. So, but you got to be able to move forward. You can't be romantic about it. You can't be upset about it.
Right.
You're just going to say, look, I learned a lot. I got back into video editing with that program. So that's why I started the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I think that one worked out okay. But I wouldn't have done the YouTube channel had we never made the stupid program that never sold.
Right.
So, who's to say a failure is actually a bad thing?
Right.
So
was it actually a failure?
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Next question. Do you still love woodworking? Is it your passion?
I don't think it ever was. I like building. I like making. I've always made and built things, but it's never been my passion.
Not like flying. Like I would say flying is one of your passions.
Yeah.
And I feel like woodworking just doesn't even hold a candle to how you feel about airplanes.
Yeah. Deep dive on that. The whole lesson that I had thought about when I was typing this question up was like, we are doing the woodworking business to teach us how to run a business.
Yes.
One of the best pieces of advice we got from our mentors was pick something that you kind of like and build a business around it, because you won't love it so much that you're afraid to fail. Like you will try something, you will fail at it, and you won't be so distraught or upset about it that you can't move forward. Whereas if I had started an airplane business at the beginning and it failed, my life would be over. Like it would be end of the game.
Yeah.
I'd take that so personally. I'd be so upset about it. I wouldn't be able to pick up and try again.
But if
with
you fail at selling cutting boards, you're just like,
oh, okay.
All right. Like, not that we're not trying and not that we're not putting our full effort toward it, but it's just,
I just don't care I'm not romantic about it.
Yeah.
I don't get weird about it.
I mean, it's fun. We definitely like it and enjoy it.
But I mean, like, this is a terrible example, but maybe you'll understand what I'm saying. Like, if you love woodworking and you try to share that with somebody, like let's say woodworking is your passion and you try to share that with your kid or your grandkid, be very careful not to push too hard, because they might not like it as much as you.
Yeah.
And you're trying to push and grow the relationship with that hobby, and you might just break it because you like woodworking too much. Right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's a meme right now on TikTok of like kids holding the flashlight for their dad when they were working on the car. Like,
Yeah.
the kid does not care about working on the car, but the dad is trying to get the kid to work on the car. And so it ends in a screaming, yelling, cussing match because the kid's holding the flashlight wrong.
Yeah.
Which,
I told you to hold it over here.
right,
Yeah.
right, which ruins the hobby for any of the kids. But, you know, the parent or whatever, like, pushes way too hard into something that the kid just doesn't care about.
Yeah.
So, and with that it's the same mechanism that we're talking about of like why we chose to run a business with something we don't really care about, is so that I'm not pushing our employees too hard, so that I'm not being overbearing, more than necessary, in certain areas, that don't need to be pushed that hard.
Yeah.
So
Roundabout
woodworking
answer, but
is not our passion. It never was.
Yeah.
We still like it. It's still fun.
Yeah.
It's just not what we were put on this planet to do.
Yes.
But we want
That's
to
okay.
grow and teach and stuff. So we
All
hook
right.
up what our passion is, which is teaching, to something that we don't really care too much about.
Yes.
So they make it come full circle.
All
Paul
right.
wants
So
to
next
know-
question. Yeah. Paul, take it away.
Paul wants to know, give us a pickle or a big goal that you haven't shared. I know you have them. All right, all right, Paul.
I know you have them.
Airplane business. Let's throw that one out there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to look like, but we want to run an aviation, sort of in the same vein of the previous questions. Like, we want to run some sort of business that's related to aviation. Don't know what it looks like, but we want to maybe build and sell airplanes, manufacture them.
Yeah.
We want to reignite the spirit of aviation in America. That's
Yep.
sort of our like a big goal there. So, yeah. We're running out of time. Otherwise, I'd talk all day.
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
kind of a big goal that we have that we kind of share on YouTube, but like not a whole lot. So, all right, next question.
Another Paul, not the same Paul, wants
Different
to know,
Paul.
how do you do so much? And he said a lot more, but like he's talking about like, how do you put out so much content and run a business and do Hurricane Hunter stuff? Like, how do we do it all?
Calendars. I mean, adding everything to a calendar. We have checklists for a lot of stuff. Yeah, I feel like that's really the majority of it, and we create
boil
systems for things.
Right. We boil everything down to like, okay, what is the physical result of what we want to do? It is, I want to post a YouTube video once a week. Okay, how do I do the minimum amount of work required to get to that goal of having a YouTube video once a week?
And it's not because we're lazy we want to do minimum work. It's like we only have time to do the minimum work. So how do we make the minimum work like more than enough
Right.
to accomplish that task?
Like it's kind of like woodworking. Like if you're trying to build a bunch of stuff and let's say you're one of the weirdos that really loves sanding, you probably spend more time sanding than you do than somebody like me who hates sanding. I will do the minimum amount of sanding required to get it good enough. Someone who enjoys sanding will sit there all day with their little sander.
That's me.
And get it perfect. Right. I can't let you sand.
I take way too long.
I
to
sand 3 boards in the times it takes
Yeah.
you to sand one. So just by knowing that you like something too much,
Yeah.
you're going to waste too much time on it. So just trying to make it all connect to our previous points.
Yeah.
But like, we do so much because we're not romantic about it getting done. We look
Yep.
at the result we need and we say, what's the minimum we need to do to get it done to that quality standard? and then we don't waste any more time on it.
Yep.
So systems, and when you learn and experiment and get everything down boiled to Tom Bilyeu calls it first principles, and you do it correctly, that is called a system or a procedure. You can put that in a checklist, and you can just repeat. We try to remove as much brain power from our week as we possibly can.
Right.
So that's how we do so much.
All right. Last question.
Ooh.
Last question. Let's finish it. Let's finish strong. Okay. If you could start your business all over, would you do the same thing?
We talked about this earlier. Like, if I were to skip the woodworking for women course that we tried to build, we never would have started our YouTube channel. So it's not that I don't like this question. I think it's kind of an impossible question because you don't get to do things over. Some of the dead ends you go down.
Yeah.
Are the ones that led you to the next thing. So I don't know that I would change anything.
If I started over, I guess I wouldn't care if I did the same thing or something different, as long as it got me to the same state that I am now, like the same mental state, like, where I am respecting the process of growth.
Right. Well, baked into this question is, how do I get more for less?
Yeah.
How do I get more output without having to screw up as much? That's sort of the assumption when someone asks this question. Yeah. What would you do to save some time or to save some heartache and still get the same result?
But the heartache is what got me the result in the first place.
Correct. You can't. So. Yeah. You don't get one without the other. But if I had to start all over, if we disappeared on YouTube and we didn't do woodworking anymore, I would start new social media channels and we would make an NFT business. Yeah. That's the next thing. That's the next wave of the internet.
That's even predicated on like having new information, because NFTs didn't even really exist at all to the public.
I don't think the question is going back in time and starting. I think it's like if you disappear, if everything around you disappeared now.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, sorry, we were answering a question you didn't ask. But,
yes.
So now reading the question appropriately, if everything disappeared and you had to start over again, would you do the same thing the same way?
Gotcha.
No, I would totally. We are too sunk cost fallacy, but we are dug into this woodworking thing. But if I was just trying to make money and I had the opportunity to start another business right now, I would make an NFT business, and not selling digital artwork like you see on social media or the news is talking about right now. I would want to build a business which went to other businesses and set up NFT projects for them. It'd be a business to business network. We would roll into like Coca-Cola or somewhere and consult and say, yo, this is the type of NFT project you should put out. We can help you put in the infrastructure.
Right. Because if our goal was to make money, that's where the money is right now. If I was to look and be like, oh, where's the money?
We'd be able to raise money really quickly. Like Web3 and crypto and like all that sort of stuff is where all the venture capital money is going right now. So that would be really easy for us to fundraise, get ourselves a paycheck, hire a team of employees, and just direct them to do that. If we really wanted to make money, if our goal was making money,
that's what we'd do.
This show would be over.
And we know so much more about YouTube also. So if we wanted to make a YouTube channel about what we were doing at the time, we would just start without making all the mistakes we made 3 years ago.
Yep.
Which would be convenient, but...
Yeah, anyway, this podcast is a bit longer. That's what you get. It's the 50th episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for those of you that submitted questions. And
we really, really appreciate you. We are excited for the next 50 episodes. We hope you'll stick around for those as well. And just getting excited for, I don't know what the podcast is going to look like in the next 50 episodes. I assume it won't be the exact same as it has been, especially once we get into the commercial space and maybe start operating a little differently, but...
We will see.
Yes.
So anyway, take care. Have a good week, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.